What is going on, my beautiful LARPers and LARPettes? Today we are going to go over the Daniel Defense H9 and go over some of the updates that they've done since they first debuted this gun at SHOT Show like last year, I think. And I'm going to go over some of the history that I've had with the H9 platform itself. But before I get into all that, what is my relationship with Daniel Defense? I haven't had any relationship with Daniel Defense, to be honest, up until SHOT Show of last year. And I saw this H9 and said, hey guys, I owned the original Hudson H9 and I would like to get my hands on one of these. So thank you to Daniel Defense for sending this out to me for review. Now let's get into a little history with me and the Hudson H9, not this Daniel Defense H9 here. So the Hudson H9, unfortunately guys, I fell for the hype. It came out, professional videos, professional photos. I saw them at SHOT Show, at the SHOT Show booth. They had a very badass looking booth for a company that has just hit the market. And I really liked the look of it. It looked pretty futuristic and I loved the grip angle. I shot it at that SHOT Show that they debuted and it shot really nice. I liked a lot about that gun. And first thing I did from SHOT Show is I came home and I ordered one and I got one in my hands. Now that excitement soon died down very quickly when people started having issues with their guns. Mine, I took it out, shot it a couple times. I didn't have any issues at that time, but I feel like I kind of, not escaped, but I kind of got lucky in a way where I didn't shoot enough rounds through it to actually experience those issues that other people were having. I think a majority of them were like the recoil spring. If you see the old design of the Hudson H9, the recoil spring was actually mated to the receiver itself, and like the pins were falling out and the recoil spring was coming out. Things were breaking on them. And it was a pain in the ass to try to get them replaced, and they were also going through some bankruptcy issues. So that's kind of the history that I kind of have in my mind of them. But I think there was a lot more issues than that. But I just know that Hudson in general was going downhill very, very quickly. So, like any gun owner probably does, is they said, hey, this still works. Let me sell it before it shits the bed. So I sold mine. Fortunately, I was able to recoup a majority of the money that I spent on it, and I never really looked back other than just saying, man, I really, really wish that gun was not a piece of shit. So Hudson disappeared. They actually took in a couple of guns from people that wanted to get theirs replaced. And when they went under, those people never got their guns back or fixed or even their money back. So they screwed over a lot of people, unfortunately, when it came down to being like me, where we fell for the hype, bought the guns, and it was a complete piece of garbage. So fast forward to now, Daniel Defense buying basically Hudson or the H9 platform and completely redesigning it, to the point where it doesn't look like a complete different gun, but at the same time, designed it for the better in my eyes. When I saw this pop up again, there was that little twinkle in my eye again where I was like, oh man, I really hope Daniel Defense does this gun justice, because I saw a ton of potential in the original H9. And now that Daniel Defense has their hands on this, I really have high hopes for this gun, guys. Now, upon Daniel Defense's release of this gun, it was kind of following suit with Hudson in a way where they were having issues, and I think a barrel issue with keyholing and a couple of other issues, and I was like, gosh dang it, why can't, like, is this design cursed? Is this gun cursed to where it's never gonna be a good gun? And now they sent me their newly revised version. They're basically their upgraded version compared to the one that they released at SHOT Show last year. Again, I keep forgetting the dates on them. But this one here is one that I am hoping and I am praying that it is going to work, so that way more people can see the potential of this gun. Now let's go over some details and then I'll give you guys my experiences with this H9 here. So starting at the front here, the barrel. This is one of the updates that they did, which is a major update that they did compared to the first one that they released. This barrel has been completely redesigned and no longer keyholes, and they redesigned that and had to redesign the spring and put a dual recoil spring on it as well. Now, again, when a company says that, hey, it's no longer doing this, I kind of have to go and test it for myself. But even then, with my testing, I feel like I have to do more of a longevity testing, maybe 5,000 rounds around there before I finally see that it's like, okay, this is not doing what it did before. But from my testing with this, and I went out and I shot around 1,000 rounds, and probably within the 800 round mark, I was like, okay, let me go see if this thing is keyholing. I probably shot around 2, maybe 3 mags to and put it on paper to see what it's actually doing. And I didn't see any keyholing whatsoever. All right, so I'm about 8 yards away. I'm gonna go for the head. All right. So it doesn't look like I'm keyholing. Maybe I should kind of spread out my shots so that way it doesn't look like that. So I'm gonna shoot down here at the X and kind of try to keep it around this 9 ring so that way you can see each individual shot. All right, so I think I'm about 12 yards away-ish, maybe 13 right here. Gonna keep it in that 9 ring there. All right, let's go check. Okay, so a little bit more spread out here. Doesn't look like anything is keyholing. So you guys be the judge there. I don't see anything. These down here, they look like 5.56 rounds. That, I don't know what that is. So right around here is where I was shooting. Looks fine to me. But within that short testing, again, I was trying to do the intro on that video and trying to do other testing with this gun other than just the keyholing. I can't really say that that issue is 100% fixed. Even though I didn't have any issues, nobody else is having any issues. A gun that's had a lot of bad juju around it, especially like this H9 here, I want to test this a lot further so that way I can tell you, hey, this gun isn't doing that anymore. So moving on, you got the fiber optic front sight, bright green fiber optic front sight on there. Then you got a blacked out rear that do not co-witness with the optic of your choice on here. I don't know how much lower you can sit an optic, but this is the Holosun 507C with ACSS Vulcan from Primary Arms, and this is an RMR plate on here. That RMR plate and that optic did not go anywhere, didn't shift, didn't have any type of accuracy issues with that as soon as I mounted it on there and put blue Loctite. So that's good to go. Now the slide and the upper portion of the frame here are still the same design look of the original Hudson H9. You got those serrations up front, serrations in the rear, and then you got like these little milling on the front that blends into the lower receiver of this frame here. But the biggest difference here is the, I guess, the rail portion, the accessory rail area. You can see that the original Hudson H9 did not have it, or it was pretty much here to the trigger guard. The trigger guard kind of blended in with the front accessory rail dust cover. That's the word I'm looking for, dust cover. I don't know why I couldn't figure that word out. But the dust cover on this one here is moved up, and they added more 1913 slots. It's good for 2 reasons. So one, 1913 slots gives you more options for lights and lasers or whatever you want to put on it. But on the original H9, when you would put a light on the bottom of that accessory rail, it was it was the worst design that I've ever seen. It's just, I don't even know why they put an accessory rail on the bottom of that, because once you put a light on that and you put your fingers right there in that position and you're shooting, that like, if you're gonna present and you miss your hand or you miss the presentation, and it'll smack your hands. Having a light on there was more of a nuisance on the original H9 compared to this one here. This one, I like the fact that they moved it up, even though it doesn't really give it a huge futuristic look compared to the original H9. This is just more practical and functional. As you can see with this big Surefire X300, it's nowhere near the old H9 was, where that light was just a pain in the ass to work around. But this one, it's still, you got some little bit of an overhang down here, where if you have a grip kind of like mine, it shoves in to your front finger there, but it's not as annoying as the old one. And this is a pretty big light, guys. They have smaller lights where you can fit here and it'll fit flush. I think I put the Surefire XC1 on here. I have it somewhere around here. But that one fits really flush on there and really nice. Now moving on back, you have your takedown little lever here. It kind of takes down like a Glock. You pull the slide back, pull that down, and pull it forward. I'd show you guys, but I think YouTube would delete this video for gunsmithing. Now moving on back to the trigger. Now this was probably my biggest gripe on the original H9. The original H9 basically looked very simple. It was kind of the same trigger here, where it had that hinge at the top, and then it pulls back kind of like a 1911 trigger there. I liked the concept, but on the original H9, it was gritty and nasty and spongy. I just did not like that trigger. Feeling this one, I kind of felt like, oh man, it's gonna be the same thing as that old one, but it wasn't. It actually is a pretty nice trigger to have on this gun here. It feels, once you get over that safety there, it feels similar to a 1911 trigger. Not as light, but very, very close, and I really like this trigger now, comparing it to the old version. Moving on back, you have an ambidextrous slide release. Now, you guys that have this gun here, this model specifically, do you have issues with your slide release not locking the slide back? Or maybe it's a mag issue or something like that, but I haven't had any issues with mine. It's just not, it's locking back for me, guys. It's not having an issue. So not saying that maybe down the road it might have an issue, but for now, within the 1,000 rounds that I shot through this thing, it is not having an issue with locking back. So those of you that have issues, let me know what you think it is. Now moving on down to the grip, you got a beaver tail back here that is nicely blended into the receiver, or the lower receiver itself, or the grip itself. That was a huge upgrade over the original H9, where that, it kind of stuck out like a 1911, and when you pressed it in, it would pinch the shit out of your freaking meat of your palm there, and it sucked. So I'm glad this one's pinned down and blended into that frame a lot better than the old ones. The beaver tail back here, the point on it doesn't bother me as much, but I would see an issue with this with carrying appendix, because it is a little bit pointy here. It's not to the point where it's going to stab you and make you bleed, but I just wish, if you're going to make a carry version, just take this part out and make a flatter beaver tail there for those people that are going to carry those 24/7 appendix. Now the grip itself is one of the major features that I fell in love with the H9, just across the board. The original H9 and this H9. The grip just feels nice to me. It's not as thin as a 1911 grip, but it's also not as thick as a double stack 1911 grip. It is, to me, it is the perfect grip for my hands. I really like that 1911 grip angle. I like the side panels here, that they are swappable if you wanted to put maybe more aggressive grips on the panels on the left and right. The texturing on the front and back is just simple texturing, but also not aggressive enough. If this is in your pants, it's going to annoy you. Mag release is ambidextrous and is able to be pressed super easily. Magazines, proprietary magazines, I believe. 15 rounds, you get 2 in the box, and haven't had any issues, or actually, let me take that back, because I don't really know if it's a magazine issue. Really quick, that's all of the features on the Daniel Defense H9. Now to go over the issue I was having. It wasn't going fully into battery when I would have a mag loaded and try to hit that slide release. I honestly don't know what was going on with it. I'm still trying to figure it out to this day, but when I have a magazine loaded, even if I downloaded a couple rounds, because that was my first thought, I was like, okay, 15 rounds, new gun, maybe the springs are a little bit too high tension and they're not allowing that slide to fully go forward. I would download it and I would have that same issue. It would kind of, I think I have a video to show you a couple times where it was jamming up on me. So full 15 round mag. Yeah, it keeps doing that every time I try to drop the slide. Then I have to set it into battery. Let me try to download the mag to like half and see if that fixes anything. All right, I got like 7 or 8 rounds in here. Let's see if it's gonna do the same thing. Yep. Not sure why it's not going into battery. But it would just get caught and not feed those rounds. Then I thought maybe the rounds are just not working right. So I tried actually 3 or 4 different types of ammo types. So Supervel, I tried Bellum, I tried Fiocchi, and I forgot the other brand, but all of them were having that same issue where I would put the magazine in, fully loaded or not, and it would just not go fully into battery. And I would kind of have to slingshot it a couple times, or I think I would need to put a couple of them into battery. Some of them were like halfway and I would have to like smack the back of the slide. So upon my research of this gun, it's not uncommon that that was happening. I've seen a couple of videos actually of where it was having a failure to fully go into battery, especially Forgotten Weapons. If you haven't checked out his video on this gun, you should. It's a very, very, very good video. But his was also having this issue. So I'm not sure what exactly is the problem there. I know that one of the other updates that they did to this gun was polish those feed ramps a little bit more. But to me, I would have said, hey, maybe it's a feed ramp issue or something like that. But if they've polished the feed ramp, who knows what it can be? Maybe I should polish mine a little bit more and see what it does. But I'm not sure what was going on. I tried the other mags that it came with and I was having the issue with all the other mags and it just wasn't doing that. Now, granted, I wasn't having any issues with failure to feeds, failure to extracts, any type of malfunctions other than that. So as soon as that first round would chamber, I have 0 issues with it shooting. So that was, to me, kind of weird. To me, it's like, okay, if it has that issue with the first round, even if it's not downloaded, maybe I'll have a failure to feed with other rounds, which, again, I went through 1,000 rounds, didn't have one issue through cycling, just that first initial round upon inserting the magazine. So Daniel Defense, I don't know what that is, but that's the only issue I had with this one here specifically. Alrighty guys, well that pretty much does it for my little review or overview of the H9. I don't want to say the review is complete just because I feel like I need a lot more rounds through this gun to actually feel 100% confident in, I guess, if I were to carry it or something like that. The reason being is because I think Hudson gave a lot of stigma to this gun, or a lot of bad juju to this gun, and Daniel now has to take that heat. Daniel Defense has to take that heat in order to instill confidence in the people that were looking at the Hudson or owned the Hudson and now are wanting to own one of these, and they have some pretty, not big shoes to fill, but shoes that have shit inside of them and have to clear out that shit in order to give you guys something solid. And I really commend Daniel Defense for putting their money where their mouth is and picking up a design, a failed design and a failed company, and saying, hey, let's make it ours, let's make it work, and let's give people a badass gun to have in their collection and to use. Now again, guys, I have high hopes for this gun here. I really hope it succeeds. I am enjoying this one every time I go out and shoot it. There's still that little quirk I had there, and I'm seeing it in other people's pages where I'm kind of hoping that, who knows what it is, but maybe they'll fix that issue as well. But aside from that, all the issues that they had upon the first release, they did fix in this one that I have in my hands here. I do like that Daniel Defense is actually sitting there and listening to everybody's criticisms and saying, hey, if people are not liking it, we need to fix it. We need to keep fixing it and keep doing more and keeping on with this gun to make it an awesome gun. And I really like that from Daniel Defense. Opposed to Hudson, when they were having all those issues, they didn't give a shit. They just said, sorry, you bought it, cool. Or, hey, send it back to us. Then they go bankrupt and don't give you your money and you don't have a gun. So it's like, there's two extremes here, guys. This company that never gave a shit about you to a company that actually gives a shit what you think. And Daniel Defense, I really want them to succeed with this gun. I really like shooting this. I really like the design. I like everything about this. I just hope they get it right. But this one here, I'm going to continue testing for you guys. I'm going to report to Daniel Defense as well on my little issue that I had there. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think of the Daniel Defense H9 and the design that it once was to the design now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you all. Love you all. Catch you in the next one.